I tell my students also, if you see a spelling error in a book or an article, does it throw the whole article in the trash in terms of its understandability, or that you think now I can't ever know what the author meant? No, you sort of intuitively repair the spelling mistake even as you read it.
Let's start with the claim that we hear on social media a lot and kids are going to hear in classrooms, and that is that, ancient scribes, they changed the biblical text thousands of times. Some people even take it further and say, we don't have any way of even knowing that what we have in our laps in a paper Bible is even close to what they originally wrote. So maybe we can start with that claim. What would be your letter to your daughter on that claim?
Well, this is a common claim today, and it's largely due to the work of Ehrman, actually. Before he wrote his popular book, Misquoting Jesus, most people weren't talking about textual criticism at the lay level, but he sort of made it a popular conversation. Of course, I heard the argument in the class long before he wrote Misquoting Jesus, and I do address it in my book. One of the letters to my daughter actually addresses exactly this question, which is, didn't the scribes change the text thousands of times? Now, like most objections to the Christian faith, the ones that are the most successful are the ones that are partially true. And you'll find that a lot of the things that critics raise are actually partially right. And that's true here when it comes to scribal variations. There are scribal variations in our New Testament manuscripts. There's actually thousands of them. In fact, hundreds of thousands of them when you look at the entire scope of the manuscript witnesses across 2,000 years. But of course, we all know numbers are misleading unless you understand how to interpret them and understand them. And one of the things that I point out in the book is there's nothing scandalous about scribal errors or mistakes. In fact, it was very normal in the ancient world for any scribe who copied a book that he would make mistakes. You'd leave out a word, you would inverse word order, you'd make some other sort of mistake, not that different than my student papers when they turn them in and I notice there's errors, right? And what I tell my students is the issue isn't whether there's a lot of those. The issue is there a lot more in New Testament writings and other kinds of writings? And what kind of mistakes are these? And I quickly tell them that the most common kind of mistake we're talking about in terms of scribal slip-ups is just spelling errors. The vast majority of these variations are spelling mistakes, which just tells you people in the ancient world couldn't spell much better than people in the modern world. But I tell my students also, if you see a spelling error in a book or an article, does it throw the whole article in the trash in terms of its understandability, or that you think now I can't ever know what the author meant? No, you sort of intuitively repair the spelling mistake even as you read it. And so this is the way it is with our New Testament manuscripts. We have so many to compare to one another. We have such a reliable scribal tradition as a whole that yes, there's these errors, but we can work our way back very reliably to the original text. And so once again, statistics aren't the whole game. And I reassure the reader that we can know what the New Testament says, and the New Testament message is intact after 2,000 years. And so it's a lot of rhetoric, but I think not much to it when the dust settles.
Speaking of rhetoric, one of the things that Bart Ehrman famously said is that there are more variants in the manuscripts than there are words in the New Testament. And that can be rattling for a Christian to hear that. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, Mark Twain made a joke about statistics. Basically, he said there's three kinds of lies. There's lies, there's really bad lies, that's not his word, and then there's statistics. And statistics can be incredibly misleading. That's an incredibly misleading statistic. Is it technically true that there's more textual variations than there are words in the New Testament? Yes, there's probably hundreds of thousands of textual variations, and there's a lot more variations than words in the New Testament. What he doesn't tell you about that statistic is that the only reason we know about that many textual variations is because we have so many more manuscript copies of the New Testament than any other book in antiquity. So think about it for a moment. If you only had 4 copies of the New Testament, how many manuscript variations would you have? Well, not that many. But what if you have 5,000 copies of the New Testament? Well, then you're going to have that many more manuscripts to look to that many more variations in your manuscript tradition. And so we're actually victims of our own success here. Because we have so many manuscripts, we can just discover more and more scribal variations and then add them all up. But what would be the real statistic is how many scribal variations are there in a single manuscript, not the collection of thousands over all the generations, which is what he's done. So he's comparing the number of words in our New Testament to all the added up variations, every manuscript over over 1,500 years. That's very misleading. And at the end of the day, we actually don't have any proportionally more variations in the New Testament than any other ancient writing. In fact, on the contrary, it looks like our scribes are actually much more conscientious and copy their books with much more fidelity than most other ancient books.